Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Let's get straight into it. Ben, Ipswich Town, how's your season going so far?
Well, I think it's going rather well, but we haven't won any games yet. So it's all a little bit confusing because you just have to add a massive dose of context to that 0 win. So the the fact is, I mean, maybe I can pose the question to you. We've
Go
got
for it.
4 points. If we'd beaten Southampton, drawn with Fulham, and lost to Brighton and Aston Villa, we would also have 4 points. But we drew all the games. So I'm struggling to know which would have been better to have actually got the win. But we drew at Brighton and we drew against Aston Villa. So can you see how it's a bit confusing at the moment? Obviously, Liverpool and Man City is the first 2 games. You hold your hands up and take your 0 and move on. But yeah, we think it's going okay, but that won't be confirmed until we actually win a game. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if you're hard to beat, I think that's a good foundation to build on. It's not like you are Southampton who are getting whooped and struggling to score goals. That's a difficult thing to build on. But when you're actually picking up a point per game, but overall you're picking up points, hard to beat. I think you've got a lot to be positive about personally. I've watched a lot of you so far this season. I've watched a lot of you last season as well. I think you can be looking at it from the positive aspect. However, I do agree getting that first win is quite pivotal, and hopefully that'll get you up and running greater on. I want to talk about your manager. I think everybody does, doesn't he? He's sort of the new guy on the block, if you like, and he's earned a lot of headlines at Ipswich Town so far. You must love him, do you?
You reckon? Yeah. So
You've got to.
we were languishing for years and years, and I just kind of reconciled myself to the fact that I saw Ipswich get promoted in 99, 2000, and then finish 5th in the Premier League, and that was going to be it. That was the peak of my
Marcus
footballing life.
Stewart
Watching
Wonder
Ipswich.
season is
Oh,
your
don't even start me. My favourite player of all time, you just thrown down there. But yeah, just great. And you imagined that these things were never going to happen again. We went into administration after we went down. Wrong time, wrong place. ITV Digital went bust and all the money dropped out, and all the 3 teams that got relegated went into admin. Some 10 years later, we got a new owner and we thought, here we go. And bless him, his heart was in the right place, but he was hapless. And then as soon as the parachute payment money started going up and it was so hard to compete in the Championship, he kind of threw his cards in. Got new ownership in League One. Everyone said, watch out for them, they're American owners. Watch out for that Mark Ashton. You know, Bristol City fans think he's rubbish. And 2 seasons and 2 promotions later, just absurdly, we're back in the Premier League. There was a very scary week, Gio, where Kieran McKenna had a really big decision to make, and the Chelsea job came up. That wasn't the one. It was the Brighton job that we think he was closest. And it sounds like, and I'm not in the know, I'm repeating back stuff from people who purport to be in the know, but it sounds like he just basically took it there and then. Right, am I going to Brighton or am I staying at Ipswich? You know, as of then, kind of the hottest manager in the country, wasn't he? Going back-to-back promotions from League One up to the Premier League. And he got the assurances he needed and he's staying with us. I dare say this would be a very different conversation if it wasn't Kieran McKenna in the dugout 6 games in as it pertains to us surviving in the Premier League. But he's been absolutely incredible. And I don't know. We may see Birmingham do something crazy in the next few years, but I cover the Championship a lot on my own channel. The standout performance in the Championship over the last decade, probably to go back to back in this financial climate.
Yeah, I don't disagree. He's been very impressive. If he was to have departed in the summer or he decides to move on at some point in the near future, are you going to look at it and think, oh, we gave you a chance, we gave you a break, and you should stick with us? Or are you going to look at it and say, oh, you more than repaid us, and I completely understand? Which side are you on?
The latter, yeah. Double promotions, as I say, languished in the Championship for year on year. I'm just thinking, this is impossible. There's no way we get over that wall where you're either getting Premier League TV money or you're getting parachute payments. If you're that side of the wall, you're fine. He's got us there, and for that, he can go and take the big job if he gets offered it with my blessing. I know some Ipswich fans will be like, no, stay with us forever. But deep down, you've got to understand, if he's as good as we say he is, he ain't staying at Ipswich forever.
Yeah, I think that's a normal outlook in football. It happens. There's a pecking order in football from the very top to the very bottom. Like, we have to worry about likes of Man City and Arsenal and our players, but they've got to worry about the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona and their players. Even when
we have to worry about the likes of West Ham.
Yeah, it's just football. Everyone in Championship, like Sunderland with Jack Clark, had to worry about Ipswich this summer because you were in the Premier League. So it's football. It's a pecking order. I've never understood why people get offended about the fact that the club higher up than you may come and get someone at your club. It's just the way it works. What's been the secret to success? Is it purely Kieran McKenna FC, or is it just a combination of the new owners, the manager? And I guess what I'm trying to say is, if Kieran McKenna was to leave, would you still be all right, or would it be a case of, oh, right, okay, dark days are ahead now because the guy behind his success is pissed off?
It is Kieran McKenna FC, but that's not, he's just at the top of a well-functioning, organisation, basically. I mean, you'd argue that Mark Ashton was above him, but the CEO doesn't set the pattern of play and, make these beautiful football teams and these in-game decisions that have seen back-to-back promotions. Obviously, the American ownership came in League One, and Ipswich fans will hold their hands up. In League One terms, we were the rich boys. We had more money than everybody else. So, we were a superpower there. To, maybe we talk about West Ham in a bit, where we're comparing, the squads and the spends. We were you in that conversation then in League One, but in the Championship, just extraordinary to get straight through. What was the back end of the question?
I was just basically, if Kieran McKenna was to leave, which if he continues as good as he has been, I feel like it's inevitable. Will you worry for the future of Ipswich, or do you think you're in a place now that actually you could overcome that, and you're confident that owners would pick out another Kieran McKenna? Because somebody picked him, somebody said that's the guy, and it's worked. So somebody's done their job at Ipswich Town. Or would you worry that it would all fall apart a little bit because it's built on Kieran McKenna?
Well, obviously, if you're being realistic, you have to worry about it all falling apart, because in football, there's a rule of thumb that a very fast rise is often followed by what. And even the Sheffield United example of League One, stable championship promotion, 9th in the Premier League, you'd think, they've cracked it, they're there, they're going to survive, relegated next season. Even Leeds, with an incredible manager like Bielsa, 9th, there he goes, just survive, and then back down you go. So it's so hard. The worst time for him to go would have been this past summer, because I think that would have just been the hardest job. A new face coming in with players who, frankly, had no right in the hardest championship season in decades when you look at the points totals. Just a complete unicorn of a season. I would love us to get over the line by +1 goal difference in 17th place at the end of this season. That would then be easier, but you can still argue, okay, McKenna's out, Ipswich get relegated the next season. So, yeah, whenever he does go, there's always that chance. But as you say, there's obviously been other good stuff with the club going on, but obviously held together by an extraordinary managerial performance. Will
you stay up?
I don't know.
Well, I know that. I'm asking for prediction, not knowledge.
Possibly. Honestly, we all thought Leicester were going to get a -6 points deduction, and the just complete incompetence of the Premier League to leave such a ridiculous loophole open. And again, Leicester fans, don't yell at me in the comments. I get it. It was a loophole. We all love to be able to get away with something when we can via a loophole. Oh, the filming the speed camera just happened to break at that minute. So, you did go through it at 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, but we can't punish you. So Anyway, that's by the by. I need to park that and get over it, don't I? It would depend a lot on other clubs having that horrible season, and you can tell me whether West Ham are going to have a horrible outlier season, or whether Everton might, or whether Wolves, who are bottom at the moment, might. Whether you can pull in a Brentford or a Bournemouth who are fairly recently promoted, and then you're just looking at the teams you came up with in Southampton and Leicester. So we hope that they fail, and we hope that the wins come, and this encouragement of, playing well for a half against Liverpool and, going toe-to-toe with Villa and Brighton and Fulham. And it's just such a shame that the Southampton fans would have had it penciled as well, but the one we had penciled, come on, can we get 3 points here, ended in an unhelpful draw.
Yeah. Players then, in terms of your players, for those that haven't watched Ipswich Town much this season, which players are in form?
So, as you can imagine, from a team that was in League One to 2 seasons later being in the Premier League, there's a lot of new faces that even staunch supporters like me are getting used to. And the little old man who sits next to me at Portman Road, he said, at the Villa game, he said, "Look at the bench, Ben. That's last year's first team now. It's all changing, isn't it?" And there's a bit of a sense that the guys that got you here it's kind of ruthless, isn't it? But it is what it is, kind of being phased out. So the survivors, when you look at it, Leif Davis, the left back who had numbers to die for. And we know West Ham have taken a very good left back from Ipswich before and had great success with him. So I know there's been links there. Sammy Morsey obviously is the captain. He's survived. And Amari Hutchinson, who was on loan last season. That's one of those where, okay, do you want your championship team or your Premier League team to be as good as your championship team? That will cost you 20 million to sign the guy you had on loan. But in terms of form, obviously, Liam Delap, fantastic. And I'm sure you saw his little step over and finish for his second goal. He scored 3 goals, which is great up top. Be very interested to hear your take on one Calvin Phillips, who we all love, but apparently you don't. But I'll let you answer that one.
He was a disaster, Ben. He was a disaster at West Ham. Own goals, red cards, is just... whatever could go wrong went wrong for him. Is he doing all right? When I've watched him, I think he's been all right when I've seen him in an Ipswich shirt.
It's levels, though, isn't it? It's levels. You've had, I don't know, you tell me, Payet, who's been your best player in the last however long, genuine Premier League. I mean, and you've got Bowen and Kudus and, Soucek and those people at the moment who are really good Premier League players. We've been rubbish for 20 years. The idea that someone like Calvin Phillips, who was in the England team in the Euro finals in 2021, would play for us, it's mind-boggling.
Southgate said the reason England were rubbish is because he didn't have Calvin Phillips. So there you go.
And I would wholeheartedly agree with no irony or bias there whatsoever. So, and it's annoying because I would have said Jacob Greaves, left-sided English centre-back, came from Hull. Great start. And I know if you're going to be down the bottom of the table, often your centre-backs come up really well in the stats. They have loads of interception and clearances and tackles because you're defending a lot. But he dropped an absolute you-know-what for the first Villa goal. So I hope he bounces back from that. But, to pick out one, Liam Delap, and he's got Premier League physicality, and he'll give you centre-backs a game.
Can I ask about Ben Johnson? Obviously, he left West Ham and joined yourselves, but he's not really had much of a look in. What's the Ipswich Town fans' opinion of Ben, and has it changed from him signing for the club to where you are today?
Yeah, so when he signed, you imagine there's our right back. He's probably got... Before we hadn't signed Phillips at this point, so he's our experienced Premier League guy who's got, appearances under his belt. Come through at a big club and, for whatever reason, he's ending up at us. And he's gone with Axel Tuanzebe McKenna. And it's that normal conversation you probably have a lot. We don't see the train. We don't see what's going on. Interestingly, with Axel Tuanzebe, we've taken the last year option on his contract. So if he doesn't sign a contract very soon, there's a chance that just for pure business reasons, Ben Johnson has to be put in because the other right back might not be there next season. But we also saw Johnson, actually. We play this kind of lopsided system to try and get Leif Davis forward because he's, despite being the left back, one of our best attackers. So sometimes you kind of have two right-sided wing-backy, full-backy players, and Johnson was in the position. The guy at the front just has to run and cover Leif Davis on the other side of the pitch and mirror it. But we've got Kieran McKenna, who was at Luton last year as well. So, yeah, interesting. Are you surprised that Johnson would come to a promoted team and not play?
Not play, perhaps. Yeah, I'm not surprised he left West Ham. Just lack of game time plus lack of money. It's never a nice conversation when it's based on money. But the reality was he was getting paid as if he was an academy player at West Ham. He was our lowest earner in the first team squad, and he had been for a number of years. And the contract offers West Ham made to him were still a low wage for a Premier League player, but also a 7-year contract. So it was like, can you sign? Basically, it would take him up to his 30s. So it was like, well, I'm not signing that because why? I'd be the lowest paid guy in the squad for 7 years. So he wasn't too happy with the contract offer and just the lack of game time. He never really got an opportunity. And I know that when we played Crystal Palace last year, that was the tipping point for him because we played at Selhurst Park and we got whooped. We conceded 4 goals in the first half. And Moyes made changes at half-time. One of them was to bring Ben Johnson on. And in the second half, we did all right against Palace. Now, we went on to lose the game, obviously. But the second half, some of the players that came on did okay. Ben Johnson was one of them. The following week, we played Liverpool. And I think Ben expected to start against Liverpool because he thought, well, how can you play the same defence? But against Liverpool, we played the same defence that conceded 4 in the first half to Selhurst Park. So I was like, well, what's the point? Why am I here? What's the point? I'm never going to get in the team. If I can't get in the team then, I'm never getting in the team. So I think that's when he decided that was it. He heard West Ham out, wasn't happy with anything that was being offered to him. And I think he just got messed around by West Ham for quite a few years. And I know a little bit about the backstory to Ben because you just know people. And I know that when he went to meet McKenna, he was blown away by how...
Is he from Essex as well, Gio? So geographically it works quite well as well, doesn't it?
He McKenna's knowledge of Ben Johnson just blew him away. He was like, I know you're good at this. And he said to Ben, I know you're rubbish at this. I know you're not good at this, but I'm going to work on that. That's what I'm going to work on. So he was a bit like, well, what are you dicking me out for? But it was like, I know your weaknesses and we're going to work on that. So I think there was an expectation Ben would be the right back at Ipswich. I think he thought this shirt was his to lose. So I think there's been an element of surprise that he's not been involved. And as a West Ham fan, I've been surprised he's not been involved. I get it because of the way that you played at Tuanzebe is almost like on paper, he's a right back, but positionally, he's actually a centre back essentially so that Leif Davis can get forward. So it's not really his role, if you like. I think he possibly could do it, but I get why he's having to be a little bit patient. That's why when, pre-season, Ben was used as a right winger in a couple of games, wasn't he? He was used further forward. That didn't surprise me because of the way that you'd play, but he's not good enough to be a winger. So yeah, I'm disappointed for him actually, because in terms of professionalism in that, no issues with him. So I was hoping that it would work out. So I'm a bit gutted it hasn't so far, but it's still early and I'm hoping it comes good. Anyways, speaking of West Ham, Ben, what do you think of our team?
Well, can I throw it back a question on my YouTube channel, the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. You should hit
links
subscribe,
in description below. Don't worry.
Oh, there you go.
But we'll do it now. We'll plug it now. If you want to hear and see more from Ben, the link to his channels in description below. The Benjamin Bloom Football Channel, and he also appears on the Blue Monday podcast, which is the Ipswich Town podcast. All links in description below. Anyway, I've done the plug for you. Carry on.
You're a pro and a gentleman, Gio. I had a few West Ham fans comment after the Villa game, Ipswich Villa, saying, you got a chance against us, mate. We're not great at the moment. We thought you played really well in the second half. And the thing with your beautiful stadium is a rather demanding fan base. If an away team can get after West Ham in that stadium, it can work in their favour. So what would be your reaction to that? Give me some confidence.
I completely agree. It's almost like my
Did you
burner
write that
account.
comment?
Yeah, it's got me. That's the #1 subscriber in Hammer's chat as well, conveniently. But I completely agree. I think we are there to be got at. Our confidence is low at the minute, and it's the London Stadium is not a good place for West Ham to play football. And it's not. Sometimes quiet grounds is a good place for away teams to play football. But the London Stadium ain't even a good place for the away team to play football, because just the way that the way end is configured with the gap between the upper tier and the lower tier, it's difficult to. Nobody likes it. There's loads of videos out there by fans that come to the stadium to support their team, and their video after saying that's the worst ground I've ever been to. And I get it. Like, I'm not going to defend it. I don't like it. I just don't go on about it anymore, because nobody needs to hear me whinging about it week in, week out. But yeah, we're not good at the minute, Ben. It was hard to not watch you against Villa and think we're in trouble here, and that's disappointing. If you strip back everything, which is a newly promoted side who've had, well, like you said, 9 new faces will be playing against us on Saturday, coming up against us, and we've spent over 100 million on a team that had already had hundreds of millions spent on it, and we're still not confident of winning. It's not a great place to be in. So I wholeheartedly agree with the West Ham fans that commented on your channel, actually. Not ideal.
I mean, that's encouraging in some ways. Not great to hear from your point of view, obviously, but it's so hard, mate, because I then look and just Bowen, Paquetá, Souček, Kudus, just the chasm in quality. And I mean, you can persuade yourself of this every week in the Premier League that, oh my God, and there's another 40 million quid signings on the bench or whatever. That just the chasm between the Championship and Premier League. But listen, that's my issue. And I need to just work through that this season, else I'm just going to assume we're going to lose every single game. But maybe there's something confidence-wise, and there's been a nice adaptation a little bit to accept counter-attacking and accept, in League One, we had 65% possession and 18 shots every game. And when it got to spring and McKenna figured out what League One was properly, we just murdered everybody. A little bit different in the Championship. But, I mean, can I just ask you again, just in terms of if the trap was laid for West Ham to come on and Amari Hutchison and Liam Delap were one-on-one on the counter-attack, is that something that would concern West Ham fans?
It would concern me. We've not been great defensively. My line at the minute, and I was going to say it's tongue-in-cheek. It's not. It's reality, which is we can't defend and we can't attack. It's not a good combination. But that's where we are at the minute. We're
Even
not really...
with Bowen and Kudus?
Yeah, we're not getting a tune out of them, honestly. Kudus was hooked last week at half-time and had a Barney with the manager, and he's been asked about it in his press conference today, and he's certainly not put to bed. He basically said, oh, no, we need to be playing like a team, not individuals. So I thought, oh, Jesus, you've got an opportunity here just to kill this story that there's an argument between the manager and Kudus. And he's not. He's just throwing fuel on the fire. And I thought, oh, here we go. So there's a possibility that Kudus doesn't even start on Saturday because he's had this potential argument with the manager and stuff. So it's early doors in his reign, but it's already a little bit topsy-turvy. And I think if you sit back and encourage us on, I think we will come forward and start playing high up the pitch. And I think one way we've struggled this season is that a bit of pacing behind our defence. If you can get a fast player on the shoulder of our centre-back, I think we've struggled a little bit with that, actually. Maybe we've rectified it because previously we've been playing Mavropanos at centre-back, and last week we switched to Todibo. Now, he's got the speed, but Mavropanos has not really got that about him. So there's a general belief among West Ham fans that this game ain't going to be easy for us. I think there's a lot of people worried.
I think Liam Delap's going to feel very emboldened by last week going against Torres and Carlos.
Yeah, I mean,
having a good game. Yeah,
he put Diego Carlos on his arse, and then last night I've just watched Diego Carlos, the same player, boss Harry Kane for 90 minutes, right? That's who Liam Delap absolutely threw.
We were having this conversation of, so by that logic, Ipswich should be able to beat Bayern Munich if they play this week.
I think that's where we're going. We're going here. Calvin Phillips is going to pocket Musiala. There you go.
There you go.
Anyway, Saturday. Is this another this is my Premier League ad again, so I apologise. But is this for Ipswich? Is this a must-not-lose game rather than a must-win? It would be nice to win, but if you get away with a point, is that deemed good? Because it's another game without a win, but it's still 5 games unbeaten. So how are you looking at this?
Oh, because of the lack of win, it changes the answer. And until we get that win, and look, you've got to understand this first block, Gio, when Liverpool, Man City, Fulham, Brighton, Southampton, Villa, and then it goes West Ham, Everton, Brentford, Leicester. So, and again, don't get upset with me, West Ham fans. Everyone looked at that and went, okay, can we win a game or get some points in that?
Yeah, you should be aiming for 7 points out of those 4 games, I reckon. You should be. I think you need to. 2 wins and a draw. And...
Oh, mate, we'd be overjoyed with 7, for God's sakes. Yeah. In the moment, knowing that the West Ham fans are not confident and Lopetegui hasn't settled, I didn't know the information about Kudus, and you've told me that what we're set up to do, there's a possibility it works against the centre-backs, then, mate, we've got to win from somewhere, and you've got to take your chances in the Premier League. And we went to Southampton with them stinking it out and didn't beat them, and quite lucky in the end to get away with a point. And then even Fulham, who are much better than us and will probably finish in the middle, you've kind of got them on the ropes a bit in the second half. And it feels like I just don't want to be, if we chat again in whenever the return game is miles into, oh God, it's the last game of the season. And I don't know, we're already done.
Relegation 6-pointer loser gets relegated at this rate.
But if it's we need to beat you to have any chance of staying up, or we're already down, or anything of that nature, we're gonna rue those chances. So as much as West Ham have better players than Ipswich and oodles of Premier League experience, you have to go and beat somebody at some point, whether there seems to be a chasm. So we're looking at every possible opportunity, and we think this might actually be one, without me being too confident, and you'll clip me out after a hammering at the weekend of famous last words.
I don't like out of context stuff like that. I don't like it. Can I get your score prediction then, please, Ben?
I've only done it twice this season, once against Southampton, but you've got to give me this. It's hard to ever predict your team to win a game when you've just come up from the Championship. So I think, I can't even remember what I did on my channel. I think I went 1-0 Ipswich, just sneaking it, and let me have it, Hammers fans. Let me have it. We're gonna not win a lot of games, and I can make a semi-reasonable argument that we can get something from this one, please.
I think West Ham fans can make a semi-reasonable argument that you're going to win as well. You don't need to do it. Don't you worry. But Ben, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you people at home have enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Hammers Chat, and head over to the Benjamin Bloom Football channel. The link is in the description below. But Ben, I shall see you ahead of the last game of the season, where it might be winner stays up.
Well, let's make a pact now. Let's hope there is utterly nothing to play for, and it's sandals and flip-flops for Ipswich on the last day of the season. And yeah, there's absolutely, and we can all have a lovely day out at Portman Road then, yeah?
We'll do that. I'll look forward to it. See you then.